Hello and welcome to part 3 of my presentation on parallels to Jesus in The Lord of the Rings. In this section, we will explore similarities between Arwen and Jesus. As a first distinctive characteristic of both Arwen and Jesus, we have their outstanding beauty. Arwen is called Undomiel, even star. Frodo's first sight of her is expressed in the following way. There sat a lady fair to look upon. Young she was, and yet not so. The braids of her dark hair were touched by no frost. Her white arms and clear face were flawless and smooth, and the light of stars was in her bright eyes, grey as a cloudless night. Yet queenly she looked, and thought and knowledge were in her glance, as of one who has known many things that the years bring. Jesus is called the morning star, which, by the way, is the same star as the evening star, the planet Venus, named after the Greek-Roman goddess of love, who was the most beautiful otherworldly being in the imagination of classical mythology. To share a few scriptures thematizing Jesus' beauty, which is essentially the beauty of his character, his love. You are fairer than the sons of men, grace is poured upon your lips. Psalm 45. My beloved is radiant and ruddy, the fairest among 10,000. Song of Songs 5. Arwen is half-elven. Therefore, she is given a choice between immortality and mortality, being an elf or a human. She chooses a mortal life out of love, gives up her immortality to become one with the man she loves, as we can witness in that romantic film scene on the bridge in Rivendell. Aragorn, you said you'd bind yourself to me, forsaking the immortal life of your people. Arwen, and to that I hold. I would rather share one lifetime with you than face all the ages of this world alone. Jesus also chooses a mortal life, gives up his immortality for us. He was pure God, but chose to be half God, half man, or rather fully God and fully man. He chose mortality, like Arwen. He chose to go through death so he can become one with us in everything, know all our suffering, share all our pain. So basically, he says to each one of us, I choose a mortal life. Our reaction might be like Aragorn's, you cannot give me this. And Jesus' reply is like Arwen's, it is mine to give to whom I will, like my heart. Philippians 2 gives us a clue just how much Jesus reduced himself in choosing mortality to become one with his beloved, who, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. And being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. He was God, pure light, unlimited in space and time. Now he is forever bound to a body, remains a man. Even though he has a resurrection body now, still all the prophets, when they describe visions of Jesus, see a man on the throne. Then we have the mystery of the Incarnation. The uncreated one, who created everything, is reduced to a single, incomplete cell. A sperm cell has only half the amount of chromosomes as a normal body cell, therefore even incomplete. He used to have absolute control over everything. As an embryo, he was totally powerless. In heaven, he was completely safe. as a human child, extremely vulnerable. Before, everything belonged to him. On earth, for large periods of his life, he did not even have a place to sleep and was an outcast on the run. In the Trinity, he used to have a perfect love relationship with God. But in his earthly life, he had to learn to trust God, to hear his voice and so on like we do. Later, that relationship was even broken when he felt separated from God on the cross, when he cried, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" So, in being united to us, he had to experience what is stated in the definition of marriage, to leave father and mother and cling to his wife. Also, Jesus gave up health, strength, and physical beauty when he was weakened and disfigured on the cross, and all suffering was upon him. This is graphically described in the servant songs in Isaiah, prophecies about the Messiah. There were many who were appalled at him. His appearance was so disfigured beyond that of any human being, and his form marred beyond human likeness. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Like one from whom people hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him in low esteem. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering. So like Arwen fought for Frodo against the ring-wraiths at the ford of Bruinen, Jesus fought for us, coming between us and every dark power of the enemy. And like Arwen in the film version, Jesus gave us his life, what grace was given him, asking the Father to let it pass to us, so we may be spared and saved. Finally, Jesus is Emmanuel, that means God with us, and this is similar to Arwen too. Arwen stays in Middle-earth instead of sailing to Valinor, where she would have a peaceful existence far from suffering and evil. Likewise, Jesus, even though he is invisible now and in heaven, still he is going with us through our lives, sharing them in every detail. This is his promise, and surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. Thank you for your attention. In the final part, we will have a look at the royal wedding of Aragorn and Arwen and how it reflects the union between Jesus and his bride.